Hey, everybody. Welcome to Breaking Down the Game, Episode 3. This week, we're going to talk Packers versus Buccaneers. We're also going to talk about 5 topics related to the Green Bay Packers. Let's not waste any time. Let's get to it. Kyle, how are you doing this week, buddy?
Really good. A lot better than last week, that's for sure.
That I totally agree with you. Before we get started, of course, like and subscribe the video. Check the links in the description. I'll have links to all the Pack Attack channels and anything else pertinent to this podcast there. So check that out, and away we go. All right, Isles. The last word on the Bears game. Good to get a victory, the first victory of 2022. What are your thoughts?
Dude, I'm so prepared this week for this question just because last week I wasn't able to watch the game. So during the game, I jotted some stuff down. I'm just going to give you some quick hits of what I was thinking. All right. Number one was after instant replay, the Bears still suck. Because I thought that when the Fields thing, right? I was thinking that in my mind. But let's break it down. Offense. Obviously, Jones was amazing. I mean, I thought another quick thought was I kind of felt like the whole offense was starting to develop this you don't know where it's coming, right? Kind of like Carl Gerbschmidt. You never know where it's coming, because it's just short passes, that double back set. Rodgers hit 8 different receivers during the game. Mm-hmm. That 1-2 punch is a lot like it was giving me like Dorsey Levin's kind of Edgar Bennett vibes, where you kind of had a similar approach where you can just beat him down with Dillon after you want to kind of put the game away. I thought that was interesting. I thought the line dominated. I really looked at like how they were sealing off blocks. And I think that's why Jones had such a successful game, is he was taking those seals, and he's just a little quicker with jumping around than where Dillon's the smash mouth. And he really took advantage of that. Jenkins was an absolute beast. It made a huge difference having him back. Tanyan, Dillon, even Mercedes, when you put those big guns in there to help in the addition of blocking, it's just crazy how good of a run game we can possibly have, and that just opened up everything else. If I'm looking at the negatives, I think those are the 2 obvious. It was kind of the miss, the fumble to hand off to Dillon. There was that moment, and then obviously that snap that hit Watson. I think it was a snap problem. So that's me on offense. Defense, just trying to hit it quick here, buddy. Defense seemed to have the right attitude. Like every player seemed to have like this kind of more aggression. Like it seems like we're a little bit more cocky on every position almost, which I absolutely loved. Douglas, Stokes, Gary all seem to have very bright moments that kind of changed the momentum of the game at certain key spots. They had big plays. Only thing that sucked, got to tackle better.
Yeah.
Got to tackle better. I mean, they looked horrible in that, third quarter to fourth quarter, the running game. We all saw it. And then, of course, Ja gets the pick, which was amazing, right?
Yeah.
Special teams, Crosby made what he should. Rodgers had a few nice little returns, I thought, that were just like above average compared to last year. And the punting was excellent.
Excellent.
It was excellent. Those are my thoughts.
Okay, that's a great recap. We're all done for the night. See you later.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Excellent breakdown, Isles. One thing you brought up that I really love is that the defense seems to have what I'm going to call waves of cockiness.
Yeah.
There's a bit of an attitude, a little bit of swagger there.
Yeah.
I think having 2 fast inside linebackers who can tackle and cover sideline to sideline is a huge thing. We all know the defensive backfield. Our corners are excellent, and even Razul is bringing some lumber. I love to see that. I love to see him come up and make those aggressive tackles. Our corners played an excellent game. I wish I could say the safeties were excellent too. They were just okay.
Yep.
I think Preston Smith had an excellent game.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Not only
Very good.
set the edge, he was getting after the quarterback. He wasn't getting fooled on any of those play action trick fakes and passes. So he had an excellent game.
I thought that one play where he Fields, I think, rolled out to the left and he kind of dove and kind of tripped him up just enough so the rest plays like that where it's weird because he had that period. I can't remember if it was the beginning of last year or the year before where he seemed like he was almost demotivated a little bit.
Yeah, he had a down year, 2020. I think he was hurt for a lot of the year. We just didn't hear a lot about it. But it's great to see him playing really good.
Oh, agree.
So offensively, I think, getting Jenkins back, I think Higher Point of View even said he was only about 80%. I totally agree. He's not 100% whatsoever. He's knocking off the rust, but just having him out there was a big difference.
It was.
It's like a certain amount of confidence in knowing that at the very least he wasn't going to be making any mental errors.
Yeah.
So, I thought they ran block pretty well. Honestly, I haven't looked at the all 22 tapes, so I don't have a real good assessment on the blocking patterns of last week.
Yep.
But needless to say, the offense did enough to win.
Yep.
I really want to see them grab a hold of our opponent's throat and really squeeze and crush. Right?
Yeah. What did you think? What did you think of like what I was saying about? Did you get that vibe though too, where you could almost start to see what they could become?
I think so. I hear what you're saying from the run game and the things that they could do with the backfield. I totally agree. They're just scratching the surface of what they can do there. I still don't fully understand what they're going to be doing with the wide receivers in the pass game and how that'll eventually all gel. I'm hoping that our rookies step up and gain some experience and confidence so they can take the game to the next level. If they can do that, open up the passing attack along with this run assault, this offense could be unstoppable.
Yep.
But it is just a matter of wait and see. So with that said, we're going to put the Bears to rest. The Bears still suck. And we're going to leave it at that. Quick side note, interesting story. When my grandfather passed away, the family asked that I do the eulogy for his funeral. That week that the funeral was on, the Packers played the Bears. And this funeral was held in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, in Packer country. So the first thing I got up there was I said, I just want you all to know that my grandpa would want you all to know the Bears still suck. And the whole place erupted in applause. So that's really? Just another little story about how everyone in the Wisconsin area just believes green and gold.
That's awesome.
So with that said, we'll get to the next topic. Enough of the ayahuasca already. I think we're all sick and tired of hearing this. What do you think, Isles?
I just kind of, every time I hear that or read about it, the one thing I just imagine now is like Rodgers like drifting off into some desert where there's like a bunch of freaks out there, some teepees or something, and he just drifts into one to do like his little kind of peyote drink or whatever, and then starts like drifting off into space, being all high and stuff. And then he's coming back. He's like our professional quarterback who just is absolutely insane. So for me, at least, it's always just kind of a funny thing. And then, of course, the touchdown dance this week was kind of genius on the part of the receivers. I thought that was great. But yeah, I'm sick of seeing it in the news. I'm sick of reading about it and some of these other podcasts where if you see Rodgers on, that's all they want to talk about. I'm done with it. Let's just move on.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think it just goes to show you that Aaron Rodgers has always guarded his privacy pretty closely and heavily. And now you can kind of see why. Why on earth would you want to reveal a lot of yourself if everything you say and do gets such scrutiny and all everyone wants to talk about is this ayahuasca stuff?
Yeah.
From what I understand, it's obviously it's just a plant. It's actually a mixture of two plants that when they put it together, it allows DMT to get into your system. And what is DMT? That's the stuff that is in all of our brains. It's in pretty much all living matter. And this DMT really helps you in your dream state. So by combining these two plants, it essentially inhibits enzymes in your system from
Dude, wait.
blocking the effects of this DMT. So what it does is it puts someone like in a dreamlike state. And from what I understand, it kind of resets a person's brain. Apparently, it's very useful in the treatment of severe trauma, PTSD, and addiction as well. So while I think it is a medicine that should be studied more thoroughly, I'm just sick and tired of hearing everyone talk about Rodgers being a druggie and all this. It's not the case.
I got to say, though, that breakdown, I was going to try to stop you there for you to go get your white lab coat to explain it and get like a whiteboard. And dude, it was amazing. That was crazy stuff you just laid on us.
Well, I've researched some of this stuff because I'm interested in, different types of medicine, that isn't following conventional pharmaceutical standards. I think there's a lot of things out there that can really help a lot of people. But I think one thing that annoys me with Rodgers and this ayahuasca stuff is the way he talks about it. It's a plant medicine, and when the plant calls you, it reaches out to you and calls to you. Kind of like this hippie talk is annoying. It seems to be like a hipster doofus thing to do nowadays. But with that said, I think it's a useful thing. I suggest that everyone kind of do their own research and do what's right for them, but enough of it already. I'm sick of hearing it.
Yep. I'm done with it as well.
Yeah, if we want to have a discussion on it, let's talk about it outside of football.
Yeah.
It's a different venue and all that stuff.
I would agree.
All right. Enough of that. So on to our opponent and the quarterback we're going to be facing this week. Tom Brady. Is he a douchebag or a cool guy? What are your thoughts on this, Isles?
It's kind of an interesting question because in my perspective, he's like one of those guys that it's so hard to tell because you can look at him, you can think all the douchebag things that kind of surround him. It's just like the clothing ads. Did he get plastic surgery? He's got the model wife. He's just like Mr. Perfect in all these commercials, blah, 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 blah. Then you hear these stories like the cool guy stories, like behind the scenes. I personally love when he's yelling at the guys on the sidelines when they're losing a game or they're not playing well. It certainly motivates their team when he does that. I've watched, I can't even count how many games over the years where he's done that and literally almost willed his team to change directions. And I think he's a phenomenal leader. I've also heard stories of him with the chugging beer and stuff like that. Like behind the scenes, he can just pound beer with the best of them. His teammates absolutely love him. He seems like a stand-up guy. And then you see those moments where I don't know if he's doing it just for the camera, where it's like when he beat Drew Brees in that last game of his career in the playoffs, and then they showed after the game how he like hung out with his family. I don't know if you saw that clip, but it was like, well, after that, it's like, oh, Tom Brady's such a nice guy. Maybe he really is. You know what I mean? Maybe he really is. But if he did get plastic surgery, though, I'm going with boom, douchebag. I mean, it's just like, or hair implants, any of that crap, you're a douchebag. Yeah. All the other stuff doesn't matter. What about you?
Yeah, I kind of fall under the same boat. I'm not sure what to think of him. One thing you have to say about him, you can debate whether he's the GOAT. Well, yes, he's the most winningest quarterback. There's no disputing that. Was he the best? I don't know. But the fact is this is a dude who refuses to lose. Mm-hmm. And Isles, you and I have a good high school buddy who kind of follows the same pattern. He just refuses to lose to the point where it almost makes him violently sick to think of losing. So I think that's where a lot of this passion comes from. I do find it interesting that when Tom Brady is on the line, cussing out his team and throwing surfaces around and this and that, everyone says, "Oh, what a fired up, great guy, great teammate, great leader." if Aaron Rodgers does anything similar to that, oh, what a douchebag, what a diva, what a, so
yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Double standard with Tom Brady and everyone else.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that we're getting like little cracks and we're hearing little things about his family life outside of football.
Yeah.
Like, apparently his model wife, who, by the way, makes a hell of a lot more money than he does every year.
Does she really?
At least she used to when she was in her prime modeling. Oh, my.
Wow.
Oh, man. She like dwarfed his salary. But in any case, apparently she's quite upset with him because he's not present in the family. That he's, he retired, then decided he wanted to go back to football, and he's not really being a part of the family like he said he was. So that's going to be interesting to watch play out. And the reason I say that is because we're both family men. We're both married men. And we know that just being there physically for our families isn't what it's about, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You can physically be there, but what the family wants is they want you to want to be there.
Yeah.
They want you to make that choice to engage and do those things with the family. So if his heart is really torn between football and his family, and he's not practicing as much as he should be, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out and if that affects his season. But
yeah. I think
we can only hope it affects him this week.
Yeah. Yep. And I also think that this podcast is getting super deep. We're not only teaching about football, we're teaching about family, life, all these important things. Now, let's keep going with that. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I think our viewers have to look at us and, they might be saying, oh, these are two old farts from Wisconsin.
You got a lot to teach.
Wisdom. Soak up this wisdom,
Lots to teach.
These wrinkles, these,
You're like a good old
face.
You're like a good old tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is wisdom. This is the face of wisdom. Just look into our eyes, and we will teach and lead you all to a better life.
Yeah.
But
we should do 2 podcasts, one that's not even related to football.
Yeah. We might have to branch off a little bit. I mean, the internet cannot contain us.
Nope.
I think so.
What are you drinking there?
No free advertisements.
Yeah, that's true. But what flavor?
This podcast, but it's just a natural root beer without sugar and chemicals and crap.
All right. I thought you always did the Dr. Pepper flavors.
I used to, but again, no free advertising here.
Oh, crap! That's right.
Yeah, if they want to get on here, we're more than willing to listen. But we got to get paid.
Yeah. All right, let's go. What do you got the next topic?
Okay. We're gonna break out a new segment. Sharpening the knife.
We call sharpening the knife. Especially on the gland penis. Rub them 50 times.
What sharpening the knife is, what do the Packers need to do to sharpen the knife for battle this week going into the game against the Buccaneers? What do the Packers have to do to sharpen the knife, Isles?
There's no doubt that the number one thing that I see is got to be better tackling and run stopping. It has to be greatly sharpened because, you look at, I've watched a little bit of that Tampa game last week. I didn't see any football, unfortunately, week 1, but from what I understand, it was kind of close to what they looked like last week, which was really relying on a lot of run. And I think that Fournette is a solid back, and if we start getting beat up front, it's going to be tough to beat them. Because on the flip side, which is something that we don't necessarily need to sharpen, but we need to win, is definitely our running game needs to be established because we don't have, Adams yet. Or you know what I mean? We don't have this threat to just go deep to somebody and know that it's going to be there at some point in the game. We were heavily reliant right now on establishing and winning the run. And if we can't do that, it seems like we're going to be in a world of pain for our passing game. And that place down there hasn't been good to us over the last couple of years too. And I just don't want a repeat of that. So we got to hit early, but stopping the run, I think, is the number one thing right now, especially what's his face? Isn't he out this week?
Well, Mike Evans supposedly is suspended, but he's appealing that.
Okay.
It could be the case where they allow him to play this week as the appeal is drawn out, but I am by no means an NFL policy expert.
Yeah.
So
what about you? What do you think?
Well, I also agree that playing in Florida is very strange for the Packers, especially in Tampa Bay. I even remember when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were the doormat of the NFL when the Bucs were in the Packers division back in the day, in the old Central Division before the reorg. And it always seemed like the Packers had a hard time playing in Tampa. I don't know what it is. Is it the swamp air? Is it the heat? Is it the humidity? I don't know. But the Packers never seem to look very good there, and that's of a concern. So I hope that, to sharpen the knife, they have to be, their conditioning has to be good.
Yeah.
Let's hope as professional they have top-notch conditioning so that they play fine in the heat without much stress. I also think we got to stop the Buccaneers' run, of course. The Buccaneers on offense are dangerous, but they're beat up. To be honest, I haven't done a lot of scouting on their line, but apparently they've had a lot of injuries across their lines. So our defensive line and our front seven really need to take advantage of that.
Yep.
And as you mentioned, Isles, we got to get the ball carriers on the ground quick.
Mm-hmm. Their defense has been tough.
Yes. So from a Buccaneers perspective, their defense is always good, and they still have some premier linebackers. So while I think it's going to be difficult to establish the run game, I think the Packers need to stick to it and really try to get that going.
Yeah.
At the same time, that's kind of like the obvious plan for the Buccaneers. So who knows? Maybe the Packers come out throwing the ball pretty quick. Maybe take a few quick hits.
Yep.
I thought Sammy, the Hammy Watkins, looked pretty good on those short crossers.
Yep.
I wouldn't mind Rodgers getting into that 1-2 pass type rhythm. But I agree with you. We got to get the run cranking early and often and use your best players, right?
Yep.
Beyond that, special teams just has to keep being okay. They can't make any mistakes. So
didn't you think they played well though last week? Do you agree with like some of those returns Rodgers had were just like a little bit more than average? I thought he had a couple that looked really good. Kicking game was good. The punter's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear with the new with the tenure of Bisaccia as a special teams coach that they seem to be setting up their special teams blocking a lot better because, as you mentioned, Rodgers seemed to have some lanes to run to after he received the punt, right?
Yeah.
Evidenced by the 20-yard punt return he had.
Yep.
He muffed that one, which could have been, you just can't muff punts, especially in games late in the year. We cannot have turnovers like that. Those are like backbreakers. But I really wish we had a punt and kick returner that had a little more shake and bake.
Mm-hmm.
Someone with a little better quick twitch speed. Rodgers doesn't seem to have it, but as long as he's just reliable, I can live with that.
Yeah. If Watson could catch, would you put him back there? Like, I feel like Watson is one of those guys that's known for dropping the ball, but I feel like at some point they're going to develop some plays to really utilize his speed, and they're going to hit at the right time, and he's going to he's gonna go yard on it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like you could kind of see that one play, the end around where it hit him on the snap. That kind of a play, if it's done in the right way, and we get a good block, some good blocks up front, and he just finds a seam to hit and use his speed to go. Something like that, like a guy like that at punt returner or kick returner would be outstanding.
Yeah, I wish they had a lot more time to practice it, because at the very least, I think Watson practicing punts, punt returns would be helpful for him.
Yeah,
you know, for his hands catching the ball. You know,
yeah.
If that's what he has the most trouble with, I'd love to see him, you know, practice that. And of course, the speed that he has is, you know, you can't teach that. So,
yep.
But I also understand that practice time is limited, and it's really important for the Packers to get him up to speed as a wide receiver. So, I totally agree with you, Isles. I'd love to see someone else back there. And if that's Christian Watson, you just got to find a way to get the ball in the hands of your most talented players, your fastest, most talented players. So I do think this game's going to be interesting. I never have a good feeling of playing Tampa Bay in Tampa, but let's hope for the best, and let's hope that our keys to the game and the Packers sharpening their knives this week pays off.
I agree.
So with that said, I want to ask you, who are your 2 stud picks for week 3 of the Packers? You pick one, I'll pick one. We'll just go back and forth.
I think my first one is going to be because I loved the way this guy looked last week, and I'm expecting a huge week because he usually plays good against tough teams. I'm going Randall Cobb. This guy looks like he drank some kind of potion to make him a young buck again. Oh, yeah, not the potion, though. No. No. But, you know, I don't know if you agree, but I thought he looked outstanding. And I know we had talked, I think, even last week's podcast about him and Rodgers being in sync and talking about how in sync they were in practice and how that was going. And, man, did it really show. I thought that he looked young, spry. You know, Rodgers just knows where he is. I remember there's one play, too, where Rodgers rolled out to the right. And I think that Cobb's one of those guys that's always mentally in sync with Rodgers. It's like when he sees him go out, he's like, hey, it's ad-lib time. And he kind of gave the old finger like, hey, throw that bad boy right down here, and Rodgers hit him. So stuff like that. I think also in years past, there's been a lot of those games where it's a tough hitting game. You're playing a tough defense. And he's just one of those guys that's not bashful. He'll do what he needs to do. He'll go over the middle, throw it in, get something to move the chains and keep things going. So he's my offensive player of the week.
I love that pick as a potential stud. And I totally agree with you. He seems to have a spring in his step that I didn't notice last year at the very least. So, and like you mentioned, Isles, he's always on the same page with Rodgers. So you can never go wrong there.
Nope.
So for my first stud of the week, I am going to take a flyer. I'm going to say David Bakhtiari is going to be one of the studs of the weeks. I am predicting that he sees the field this week, and just his presence alone settles this offense down, much like Jenkins did against the Bears. If he is 80% of himself, he is still better than Josh Nijman. And I like Josh. I think he has potential to be a good NFL player, but just having Bakhtiari back, I think would just pump this team up in ways that you can't imagine. So I'm crossing my fingers, taking this flyer, and I'm saying Bakhtiari is going to be a stud this week. Good old number 69.
I love it. I would love to see it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, who's your second stud, Isles?
Okay, we're going defense. I think I got to go. I don't know why, but I have an absolute love and affinity for this guy. I'm going Rashawn Gary. I just love his energy. I know that he seemed like last week there was a couple times where he seemed to, like I think you and I were even texting about holding the edge, but I felt like he's a constant energy box that can disrupt a play. and he had a couple. I think he had a sack at one point. I think he had one sack last week, if I remember. Love the energy. I think he needs to get in there. He's going to have a huge week. I'd like to see him put a nice, big, huge hit on Brady, which would be awesome. And just continuously kind of break down the offensive line and make it not so stable, because if we can break that stability for them to produce a good running game, I think that's really the key to winning this game. We got to stop the run and we got to block.
I absolutely love that stud pick, Isles. I think you're spot on the money. I think Gary is such an exciting player, has the potential to blow up any play. Like you and I were talking about, he got caught pursuing inside a couple times last week, wasn't setting the edge. Even Chris Collinsworth on the broadcast was saying, if you pursue that way, you got to make sure you get there.
Yep.
You're fast enough to get there, because if they beat you around the outside, you're toast, especially against a fast quarterback. Anyway, we don't have a fast quarterback this week. So, yes, I hope Gary just folds Brady in two, stands over him, and right?
Like Charles Martin.
That's right. That's right. I think we need to bring a little more trash talking into the game.
Yeah.
And that they got to let these players have a little more fun and bring some of that swagger back to the game.
Yep.
So with that said, my stud pick of the week, my second one, is Jack effing Coco. The reason I'm going with Jack Coco is that his snaps, he's the long snapper for the Packers, and his snaps really have to be on point. I'm feeling that this game might come down to a field goal or two, so that snap, hold, and kick has got to be perfectly timed and executed. Therefore, Jack Coco is going to be a huge stud this game.
Has a snapper ever scored like a Chester Markle type touchdown where it's like, you know what I mean? Like, is it possible he snaps it? After he snaps it, is it legal for the punter to throw it to him?
No.
Because he's like, he would have to be ineligible.
Yeah. But in theory, he could pick up some type of fumble or loose ball and take it in. That would be an interesting trivia thing to look up for next week.
Yeah.
If any of the viewers out there have have an answer for that, please throw it in the comments. We'd love to hear that, and we'll certainly spotlight that. That would be hilarious to see something like that. So that's what we want. That's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about fun stuff. We don't always want to be boasting of our football IQ on this show, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
if he scores a touchdown next week, I mean, we're gonna retire episode or number 5 stud twin prediction, because you can't beat that.
He'll be in the Hall of Fame.
He would be
have like a stud pick of the week, and then forever you can't pick him again. Something like that.
We got to get his jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know what number it is, but I'm going to be on the lookout.
I think it's 8.
We need a Jack Coco jersey on this show.
Yeah. Solid name too.
Yeah. Thanks, Isles, again for
thank you.
getting together and talking football. I want everyone to please like, comment, and subscribe. I want to thank everyone for watching and subscribing. We hope to keep doing this all season. And like we said last week, we're going to get some guests on. I think we're going to bring on maybe our first special guests next week. I know who it is. Isles, you know who it is. Yep. But everyone else is probably going to have to wait. So we're going to bring someone in to talk a little football, and I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Good. I'm looking forward to it.
Anything else you want to say to finish this up, Isles?
No, go Pack.
All right. Thanks again, everyone. Go Pack!